2024 saw an alarming statistic in India. More students took their own lives than farmers.
We are losing young people to suicide. It's not only a loss to the family, but it's a loss to the community and the nation itself.
Behind this is how competitive higher education has become in India.
There's no holiday here in coaching. No holiday, no Sunday. It was stressful, I won't say it's not.
It's almost like you either go to this best college or there will be nothing that will happen in your life.
In Asia, countries like China, South Korea and Singapore are commonly associated with high student stress. Is India joining their ranks? For the past 1 year, 22-year-old Anshu Agarwal has followed a strict schedule.
So I start my morning by waking up and I have breakfast and then I start studying. So I study for around 7 to 8 hours a day, and if possible I try to study for more hours. I just eat and study, there's nothing else.
Anshu is preparing for India's Union Public Service Commission or UPSC exams. It's a standardized test required for those who wish to join the higher ranks of India's civil service. It's a grueling ordeal where candidates will eventually sit through 32 hours of examinations over the course of the year. For Anshu, D-Day draws near.
This year, the exam is on 25th May. And since 2.5 months are left, everyone has started preparing for it. You need at least 5 to 6 revision to clear it.
Each year, across India, millions of teens and young adults sit for a myriad of tests. Year 12 students graduating from secondary education sit for the standardized All India Senior School Certificate examination. Then, depending on which undergraduate course they wish to pursue, there are other requirements. For example, engineering hopefuls for certain programs have to take the Joint Entrance Exam, or JEE, while those who wish to study medicine will sit for the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, or NEET. And then there are profession-related exams, like the UPSC. For many, their exam results will determine if they can enter university or qualify for certain jobs. But all this could be taking a toll on India's students. In one survey, 8 out of 10 Year 9 to 12 students experience exam-related anxiety. These students are between 15 to 18 years old. And for about 20 to 30% of these students, the anxiety is so severe that it impairs daily function.
Being a student has always been stressful in India, and definitely more so as and when we progress as a country, or as and when new fields develop, new expectations develop, new competitions arise.
India has made remarkable progress in the last decade. As its industry modernized, India is now the 5th largest economy in the world and one of the fastest growing. Getting a degree is critical to climb the social and economic ladder. In 2022, there were over 43 million students in higher education, an increase of over 26% since 2015.
So world over, higher education has been understood, or the campuses have been seen as spaces which ensure or which create possibility for social mobility. It creates in you abilities which would then help you cross your own social boundaries and move to other planes.
Sometimes because these children are so young and impressionable, unfortunately, they find themselves feeling extremely burdened by a lot of expectations that they have to hold on their shoulders. Sometimes it can be the pressure of relieving their family from a lot of financial concerns that the family might be having.
The moment you're not a graduate, you're not looking for, the probability of you finding a white collar job is very, very little. So you have to be a graduate to start with if you are wanting to get a white collar job.
Here's how higher education is structured in India. First are the universities. Universities are large educational institutions that offer a range of undergraduate and graduate degrees. Colleges are smaller institutions, typically affiliated with universities for accreditation and focused on undergraduate studies. Some universities have multiple branches. For example, the Indian Institute of Technology has 23 branches across India. India has expanded its higher education institutions to match demand. From 600 universities in 2012, it now has more than 1,200, with some 43,000 affiliated colleges. But in the eyes of students and parents, not all schools are equal.
Everybody wants just those few institutions. Everybody aspires to be getting into those institutions. So if you seek admissions into an engineering college, everybody wants to consider an IIT, and within that an IIT Mumbai or an IIT Delhi. Or if you are seeking medical college admissions, so if you are in Delhi, then you want to do AIIMS or MAMC.
While there is no formal definition, the consensus is that about 100 to 200 schools are considered Tier 1 in India. These are schools like the Indian Institute of Technology, Indian Institute of Science, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and such. The intense competition for these Tier 1 school placements is a major source of student stress. For example, IIT famously has an acceptance rate lower than Harvard or MIT in the United States.
There are about 700 to 800,000 students who appear for the entrance examination with the joint JEE exam for engineering, and about 2.2 million students who appear for medical admissions. It has to be really, really hard.
Why does this cutthroat competition happen? Because we don't have sufficient number of seats.
Why are so many millions clamoring for a spot in these handful of universities?
Historically, these institutions, the students who have graduated from these institutions have done exceptionally well. And the reason why they continue to do so is because they get the best crop of students coming into those institutions. They may not necessarily have the best infrastructure, but the best students and the best jobs push themselves to or are attracted to go into those institutions.
Each year, Times Higher Education publishes a list of 250 universities that produce the most employable graduates. 10 Indian schools made the 2025 list, and all would be considered Tier 1s.
There is a significant weightage to the educational background, especially when you are starting to hire freshers. So that's the truth. All competences apart, if two people are evaluated together, then the chances that the person who has gone through the IIT process versus somebody else who has not gone through the IIT process will be preferred.
In 2024, a report by talent assessment company Mercer Metal found that just about 4 in 10 Indian graduates were considered employable. The rest lack some critical skill. Students from Tier 1 universities were considered the most employable, while Tier 3 the lowest. Compounding this is the high graduate unemployment rate in India. According to the International Labour Organization, in 2024, the unemployment rate among Indian graduates could have been around 29%, compared to the general unemployment rate of almost 5%.
There can be this certain pressure to pick a higher education, sort of stream that gives you the most money, that gives you the most exposure, that opens up the most job opportunities. And I think the biggest pressure that people who are or students who are enrolling in higher education face is to make life decision at the age of 16 and 17 without even knowing the world. You are expecting a person to choose how they want to exist in it.
Universities have been blamed again and again for not making young people employable, but that was never the aim. The objective of universities is to create independent minds, critical minds, with an ability to also introspect and criticize structures of power wherever they are.
Nonetheless, millions of Indian students continue to vie for the limited seats in the top schools. And what determines their success or failure? The entrance exams. Preparing for them has spawned a multi-billion-dollar industry in India: exam coaching. For the last 10 and a half months, 18-year-old Uruba Nawaz has lived apart from her family. Her current accommodation is a shared room at the Hind Guru Academy.
मैं वैसे ग्रेटर नोएडा में रहती हूँ, लेकिन हिंद गुरु एकेडमी में पढ़ने के लिए मैं यहाँ के हॉस्टल में रहती हूँ यहाँ पे, तो इसलिए मेरे पेरेंट्स ने मुझे यहाँ हॉस्टल में रखा ताकि पढ़ाई अच्छी हो, क्योंकि ट्रैवल में टाइम वेस्ट हो जाता है। फैमिली से दूर होना अपने आप में एक बहुत वो होता है। कभी कभी रात में जैसे अकेले होते हैं तो रोना भी आ जाता है, तो बुरा तो लगता ही है, लेकिन पढ़ाई के लिए में तो पढ़ाई पे फोकस करना होता है।
The Hind Guru Academy is a coaching center focused on national level entrance exams. It tutors both full-time students like Uruba and those that take classes after school. Mayank Mishra, a mechanical engineer by training, runs the academy.
We have a two shift. One is morning from 9 to 2 and another shift for the different student. Those are regular Grueling student from 4 to 7:30. Practically, if I'll say, we have maximum 5 hours in the morning session and we have 3 hours in the evening session for different students. In this academy, this is our 4th year and we have started from the 97 students and now we have in between 900 to 1000 students for this current year.
The exam prep industry is big business in Asia. Before the government took steps to curb it in 2021, the Chinese tutoring sector was worth some $70 billion. In South Korea, it's over $20 billion. In India, despite its late start, the sector is burgeoning. In 2022, it was worth $6.7 billion and is expected to grow to $15.1 billion by 2028.
Talking about coaching, I think it's a necessary evil, right? So because there are tons and tons of students who appear for every entrance examinations which you can think about, and therefore there is a role which coaching institutions have to play in guiding those students, facilitating practice and preparation for those examinations, and it's quite relevant and important.
When I did my engineering, I have completed it very smoothly. But in today's scenario, after seeing all the competition, I feel like that we need an expert. Those can help us in all the prospects, considering the level of examination and the question, the detailed, thorough study.
Many of the coaching centres in India are focused on the university entrance exams. In particular, the joint entrance examination required for enrolment in Tier 1 institutions like the IITs and the National Institutes of Technology. And the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, needed for those who seek admission to medicine-related courses. Others include the Common University Entrance Test, or CUET.
NEET and JEE are the most popular examination nowadays. Generally, we grow after listening these things. Once you grow, you will become a doctor, you will become an engineer. So these are the sayings which we heard from the beginning, and these are the two professions where we get respect. So students are also willing for getting respect. That's why they are opting for these courses.
Uruba is currently studying for the NET. She had taken the entrance exam 2 years prior, but didn't get her desired grades. So she's attempting it again this year, this time with coaching.
It is important for me to crack NEET because it's a dream of my father. Like उनकी जो बेटियां हैं वो कुछ अच्छा करें. मेरा भी सपना यही है. वो मैंने ही डिसाइड किया था कि मुझे डॉक्टर बनना है.
Approximately 1.8 million students are expected to take the medical school entrance test, or the NET, this year, competing for some 90,000 MBBS seats. For Uruba and others like her, pursuing their dreams means keeping a grueling schedule.
हमारा दिन शुरू होता है सुबह के वक्त. फजर बेसिकली हमारी नमाज़ होती है सबसे पहली, तो हम उसके वक्त ही उठते हैं. इट्स अराउंड 5 to 5:30 एंड देन हम नमाज़ पढ़ते हैं. नमाज के बाद फिर हम थोड़ा सा फ्रेशन अप होते हैं, 1 घंटा उसमें चला जाता है एंड देन उसके बाद हम फिर पढ़ाई करने बैठ जाते हैं. फिर हम पढ़ाई करते हैं, फिर हमारी कोचिंग का वक्त हो जाता है. कोचिंग इज़ फ्रॉम 9 to 2:10, तो वो तो पूरा कोचिंग में चला जाता है. फिर उसके बाद यहाँ लाइब्रेरी की फैसिलिटी अवेलेबल है हिंदू अकेडमी में, तो हम यहाँ आते हैं, लाइब्रेरी में पढ़ाई करते हैं. बेसिकली 12, 1, 2 ऐसे बज जाते हैं करते करते पढ़ाई, एंड देन फिर सो जाते हैं एंड देन नेक्स्ट डे स्टार्ट्स.
In today's scenario, the stress level of an individual student is very high. If student of class 8th, 9th or 10th started his school from morning since 7 o'clock and came back at around 2 o'clock, he just freshen up, take lunch or something, then start the evening session from 4 to 7. He go back at around 8 o'clock at his home, and then he do the homework and everything. Practically he is not or she is not getting time for herself or the family interaction. So this is the main cause, what I am understanding, is the stress. Considering this, we have a counseling session for such type of student.
Anshu Agarwal, who is preparing for the civil service exam, the UPSC, had just wrapped up her stint at a coaching centre.
There's no holiday here in coaching. No holiday, no Sunday. Only on festivals you get 1 day holiday. Otherwise, there are no holidays. Now I'm done with coaching, so now I prepare full time. It was stressful, I won't say it's not.
Coaching centres have become so popular that parents are pulling their kids from state schools to attend coaching. Experts are now concerned for the toll coaching takes on young minds. Kota in Rajasthan has emerged as a coaching hub. One study here found that students who attended coaching were 13 times more likely to feel high levels of academic stress.
We have coaching cities where it might be a very difficult life, but then there are people who are committed and who want to do this, but more than that, they are pressurized by their parents and the community to go into those. It doesn't matter what their chances are. So the fact is that the coaching institutions sell a few people's success and magnify it and make everybody believe that they can be successful. I do differ with that.
Now our students don't sit in classrooms. Our classrooms are largely empty because those students are now coaching themselves to be able to succeed at examination or competitive examinations which are organized by NTA.
See, school life is just not about scoring marks or getting admission into professional colleges. School life is also learning about give and take, friendships, life lessons, life skills. Those kids don't have that.
What's more, coaching can be costly. In Kota, coaching fees can range from 40,000 to 200,000 rupees a year, roughly 460 to 2,300 US dollars. The per capita gross national income in India is about 122,766 rupees.
And there is a lot of parental pressure because so many of them, have sold their land, have pledged their jewelry, and with a lot of aspirations they have sent the kids to Kota. So there is this enormous pressure on the child to fulfill their parental expectations and also their expectations.
So in 2024, the Ministry of Education issued guidelines to regulate the tutoring industry. Coaching centres cannot take in students younger than 16. They are also required to stop misleading advertising that promise unrealistic results.
I would say that coaching centers are a symptom of the problem, but they are a very massive symptom of the problem, because I feel like coaching centers also very successfully capitalize on insecurities that parents and children have, and they kind of reinforce the idea that if you are determined enough and if you are hardworking enough, you will be able to achieve everything that you set your mind to.
I think it is a combination of our educational system, which relies so much on a one-point examination. This one exam, which determines your entire life, is not really right. And there should be opportunities for the youngsters to pursue what they want to do according to their capacities.
But even if students ace their exams, getting into an elite university could come with a whole other set of pressures. Having cleared the university entrance exams, college life brings a different set of challenges for Indian students.
The higher education in India is comparatively tougher than other countries.
The life of a student doing an undergrad or postgrad is difficult.
Well, like if I had to put it in a metaphor, I would say school felt like a fish tank, whereas college felt like an aquarium. It's a scary world, and you realize that you need to be resilient to survive in this world.
Apart from having 7 to 8 hours of classes each day, for many, this is their first time out on their own.
So, 6 months I like used to cry and everything and just call my mommy like I don't want to do this and all. But now I'm this much comfortable that I don't want to go my home.
When we are in environments that are so stressful, we are not operating from a space where we are feeling safe. It can sometimes impact people at an emotional level, physical level, cognitive level, where individuals can experience this much dysregulation where they start feeling burnt out.
As for academic stress, burnout is especially prevalent among students on highly competitive courses. For example, in a national survey, 86% of medical students reported feeling disengaged, while 80% said they faced exhaustion.
There are 3 reasons why students in higher institutes feel stressful. One is their expectation from themselves, which may be unrealistic. 2 is the institute's expectation of what the student needs to give. The 3rd is the parental pressure. When you set an unrealistic goal and say, I have to be top of this, I have to do this, I have to do this, then it becomes a problem.
Suicide is one of the leading causes of death among youth in India. And academic stress may bear a large part of the blame. According to the Indian Journal of Psychiatry, over 60% of student suicides are linked to academic stress and the fear of failure. Another study of some 8,500 students across 30 universities revealed that more than 1 in 10 students had suicidal thoughts in the past year. Over 1/3 of such students reportedly made the attempt.
I think student suicide rates in India have always been alarming, and I feel like it's only now that people are starting to talk a little bit about it. I think that a student, specifically when they are going in these so-called competitive fields, be it medicine, be it engineering, be it MBAs from the biggest business schools in the country, I think the way that these options are presented to students, it's almost like a do or die situation. And it is living in this constant fear that if I don't make this, I will make nothing of my life.
And for students from marginalised groups, the pressure could be greater. Fear of feeling out of place, fear of not knowing what to do next, fear of being unable to progress at the same pace as everyone else. These were the words of Amruta Varshini Senthil Kumar, the third-year student at the National Law University in Delhi, had written about her experience in law school. Shambhavi, who is pursuing a PhD at an elite institute in Delhi, befriended Amruta through a student organisation called Collective.
Amruta was very young and very vocal student, law student. I remember meeting in joint programs or meetings on like what's happening on campus. She was very involved in these different issues on campus, like around gender or caste-based discriminations. So I got to know about Amruta's death through her friend, who's also part of Collective.
On the 4th of September 2024, Amruta took her own life. Amruta belonged to what's called other backward class in India, a group of communities considered socially and educationally backward. She was studying at NLU Delhi on a scholarship for marginalised groups. On campus, Amruta was an active and vocal member of the student community.
So definitely different discriminations happening in campus, that was on her mind. She was herself going through, I think it was both the academic pressure and definitely pressure that comes with any kind of, if not backlash, but additional scrutiny on you for raising your voice.
Data presented in Parliament showed that from 2019 to 2021, a majority of students who took their own lives in central universities were from the lower castes, classes, and tribal communities.
There are definitely some students who are more vulnerable to ending their life by suicide. Specifically, students coming from economically marginalized backgrounds. Because the more marginalized a child's identity is, the more pressure the child has on its shoulders and the lesser access to resources the child has to even elevate some of the pressures that they might be going through.
There have been many reports of caste-based discrimination and bullying on campuses around India. John is a PhD candidate at IIT Bombay. As a graduate student, he assists in teaching. John has asked to remain anonymous.
We need to open our eyes to see the discrimination, and we will find that the discrimination is happening just in front of us. So we also see what kind of students sit in a group and what kind of students sit alone and on the backside of the classrooms, and that kind of like you will find that kind of difference of life, and this difference of life is reproduced by the campus. Many people give the testimony that they have experienced first-hand caste-based discrimination.
IIT Bombay had previously rejected claims of caste-based discrimination. But what makes caste-based bullying common? In Indian universities, there is what is known as a reservation policy, a form of affirmative action. A certain number of seats are set aside for marginalized groups and lower castes.
That is to ensure the entry of people from these sections who were not there 50 years back or 60 years back. That has enriched the campuses, and that has made the campuses very diverse.
But this may have left some upper caste students feeling resentful. In an environment where top university spaces are hyper-competitive, the reservation system further reduces available seats.
The complaint that quota system is creating distress is a complaint made by people who come from communities which call themselves upper caste. The upper caste feels distressed because it sees that, well, everything belonged to it, and now there are different claimants.
Like sometimes caste-based discrimination is like calling someone by a name, but on other times it can also be who can cope up. So actually you shouldn't be there. It's because this policy exists that you've somehow landed up in a place that you were not fit for anyway.
The issue has now caught the attention of the Supreme Court. Earlier this year, India's top judicial body had asked the University Grants Commission to provide data around caste-based bullying cases across central, state and private universities. Meanwhile, student deaths have raised concerns about mental health support on campus. About 10 years ago, the rising cases of suicides in IITs was raised in Parliament. It prompted the then Ministry of Human Resource and Development to convene a task force to look into the matter. Dr. Lakshmi Vijayakumar was part of the group. She had also helped draft the first national suicide prevention strategy.
Mental health support for students in higher institutes is not adequate in India at all. Every institute should have a specific mental health support plan. It should be multi-stakeholder. It should have students, staff and administrators. In India, every year we lose 1,74,000 people to suicide. We have a national suicide prevention strategy which has been formulated in 2022, but it has not been implemented, which is a sad story.
As for Amruta, after her passing, NLU Delhi closed the school for 2 days as an act of condolence. But before the month was out, another student would take his own life.
The response since then also has been very typical of administrations everywhere, which was to just basically they shut down the college and please avail the counseling facilities available on campus. But definitely no actual other changes happening on the campus.
What will it take for things to change for Indian students? Dr. Lakshmi Vijayakumar founded Sneha in Chennai almost 40 years ago. It was one of the first suicide prevention organizations in India. Before long, Dr. Vijayakumar began noticing a pattern.
We found that there was a 40% increase in calls from students and parents when the exam results are announced. Okay? And then we were very distressed because there were a lot of students who died because they have failed in their exams.
The situation since has been bleak. In the past decade, student suicides in India have grown at an average of 4% per year. This prompted a call for change by Indian media last year.
I really want to ask ourselves this question, that what does really change mean in this particular context? Who really needs to change? Is it the parents that needs to change? Is it the government policies that need to change? Is it the coaching classes that needs to change? Is it the institute that needs to change as well? Because I feel like this is a problem that is so multifaceted and that has so many layers that every stakeholder in this situation needs to consider this as a problem for them to even think of changing it.
One solution may be to increase the number of Tier 1 schools and by doing so, raise the acceptance rate.
We have over 40,000 plus, about 42,000 plus colleges, about 1,200 plus universities in our country. But the fact is that large number of institutions exist in our country who are very good, but they may not be ranked or they may not be perceived as the absolute best because of the fact that they're not as old, they are not delivered as many people to the industry yet. But wait, I think those guys will catch up. There'll be more and more institutions who will stand up and say, we can rub shoulders with the absolute best.
However, India's universities struggle with faculty recruitment. In a recent parliamentary report, elite institutions face an acute professor shortage, some with more than 50% vacancies.
If you look at state universities, they are in very impoverished state. Thousands and thousands of teaching positions vacant, so teaching positions have been contractualized.
As a result, there is an issue of teaching quality. In 2019, the IIT Council, the Institute's own governing body, found that more than half of its professors did not put in enough effort on research and teaching.
In the last 10 years, most of the central universities have been packed with teachers who just cannot teach. They're incompetent, they're inefficient, they're not trained in their disciplines.
To solve this, IIT would adopt a tenure track for professors. New academic staff were put on a 5-year probationary period. Tenure would be offered based on performance. The probationary period had previously been 1 year. Several other universities would follow this practice.
UGC is trying its best to check the quality. They should go to check the teachers. Teachers are underpaid. So, teachers should be given proper facilities. Their talent should be respected. So, the teachers should be well paid, well selected on the basis of talent.
There were also calls to improve mental health awareness and support on campus. In 2022, the University Grants Commission issued guidelines to all central and state universities to promote mental health and student well-being. For one, all higher educational institutes are required to have a student services centre to address stress and emotional needs. But the UGC acknowledged the shortage of mental health professionals in India.
So there is one counselor for now more than 8,000 students. When I was a student, there were around 8,000, I think.
Having more counselors is definitely helpful, but it's not going to eradicate mental health problems in a child, because mental health concerns that a student opting for higher education is going through is not necessarily going through because they don't have the capacity to deal with certain emotions. It's also because structurally they are in a position in a world that expects so much of them, where they cannot understand how to navigate this space as well.
The UGC's guidelines came out of India's move to overhaul its education sector. Outlined in 2020's National Education Policy, or NEP. The NEP included goals like more equitable education, improving teaching quality, and focusing on holistic and multidisciplinary learning.
Now there is no barrier like STEAMs that child can select the subject according to the choice. Can go for more science subjects or be with music and be with languages and whatever you like. So it is a good thing that the basic talent of child will not be killed.
NEP, I think, is one of the most transformational policies which the government of India has brought in. Starting from primary education to the absolute higher education, everything, every aspect of that has been looked at. And it is not that it is cast in stone. There are many reviews which are happening and they are upgrading it constantly. It brings in so much of opportunities for the student. It brings in so many opportunities for the institutions to deliver better quality, better with greater amount of flexibility.
It lacks direction, and it's not written in a policy, in the language of a policy document. You will find the word quality being mentioned more than 50 times or even more in the document. But what constitutes quality? How do you ensure quality? When do you say autonomy? What does autonomy mean?
One stated aim of the NEP is to change the exam-focused culture and eliminate the need for coaching. It proposes to do so with regular assessments, rather than the current system of one major final exam. In Tamil Nadu, Dr. Vijaya Kumar and her organisation had shown that diminishing the gravity of assessments reduces student stress. 20 years ago, they petitioned the state government to give students a do-over on their exams.
See, it's not fair for a young person who has failed in 1 or 2 subjects by a few marks to lose an entire academic year and be the butt of ridicule and be stigmatized by people around. Give them a hope, have another exam a month later or 2 months later so that they catch up. Because anyway, the school starts after a gap of 3 months.
In 2004, Tamil Nadu allowed Class 10 and 12 students to retake their exams. And since then, Tamil Nadu's exam failure suicides have reportedly dropped by 70%. Several other states have adopted the same practice.
The step of seeing that we don't have students dying because they have failed in their exams is crucial, because it's not only a loss to the family, but it's a loss to the community and the nation itself, because they are all young people who are the backbone of any nation.
Actually, this is the time we are implementing NEP 2020, and it is very early stage. After 5-6 years, the review will come out and things will be in the public domain, and we will try to improve, improvise and come up with the makeup of those things.
But perhaps the change that is needed must happen in Indian society at large. Last year, a tech CEO said employees should be willing to work 14 hours, 6 days a week. This prompted a wide discussion about India's hustle culture.
Somehow we have believed that if an employee is working longer hours, the employee is being more productive. And somehow we have equated just giving your life to work as dedication. I don't think we are ready to prioritize student stress in India because we have normalized it to that degree that if you've chosen this, you have to study 14 hours a day. You have to give all your life here.
And as the NEET exam draws near, these are the hours Uruba is prepared to pull.
मेरा ऐसा पहले स्टार्टिंग के डेज़ में तो इतने ज़्यादा आवर्स मैं पढ़ाई पे नहीं देती थी, लेकिन अब जैसे जैसे करीब आ रहा है वक्त तो मेरे आवर्स बढ़ रहे हैं, लाइक 10 to 12 आवर्स. प्रिपरेशन तो हम कर रहे हैं जो हमारी तरफ से बेस्ट हो सकता है, हमारे टीचर्स भी बेस्ट कर रहे हैं अपना, अब बाकी नसीब है.
With so much attention now given to student stress, where is education in India headed? This March, the Supreme Court issued significant directions to address the prevention of suicides in higher education. Will this be the catalyst for change?
Quality education should be every child's right, and no child should compete to want to study. I really hope in 10 years' time, India's higher education sector remains about education and not about business. And that's my hope.
Higher education in India is in a growing pace, and the induction of new disciplines matching with the changing challenges and scenario of the whole world. The Indian higher education system is also trying to match up with all those things.
Where do I see higher education in India in 10 years' time? We'll be the world's number one. The number of research institutions, the number of institutions putting focus on research is multiplying by the day. So every which way I look at it, both in terms of quality, quantity, the depth, the width of our higher education system is going to be the best in the world.